Thank you. Now it's time for the jury's question. I'll begin. I have a question because I live in Washington, D.C., and when I read the materials, I was struck by this comment about inasmuch. I assume this is inasmuch as you have done it for these.
That's correct.
It says, you mean to tell me a bunch of Baptists, Catholics, Episcopalians, Presbyterians, and Methodists are all going to work together and the government's going to pay for it?
Miracles still happen.
In Washington, D.C., of course, this is the hot topic of conversation because faith-based funding, and there's a lot of, I'd say, controversy swirling around about this. Much of it on one side dealing with the question of separation of church and state, another dealing with, is this going to influence, is this going to have undue influence on the churches themselves to get them to change what they want to do just because they can get money to do it? Can you address it? Was any of this, do you have any lessons for the entire nation right now on this issue?
I would respond to that by saying that this is the sort of thing that churches have been doing all along. What makes Operation Inasmuch unique is a coming together, a networking, a partnering of many different faiths. And that's a wonderful experience for people who are of different faiths to work together and to discover that when they work together with that intense personal experience, group experience, they experience a sense of teamwork that they don't experience any other time. I don't think it's a problem.
In this quote, of course, these were all Christian denominations that were mentioned, I realize. Did you have actually other faiths involved? Were there Jews and...
We're working to do that. We are working to get some other faiths other than Christian denominations. The evangelical groups have let out in it, but we're definitely working to try to include as many others as possible.
Well, you do have all this information. I'm sorry, Arturo.
Great presentations. I was wondering how the issue with the police was resolved with 2 officers that had racial discrimination. How was that issue resolved, and what is the police department doing now to integrate its work?
Well, the 2 officers are currently, there's a lawsuit coming to court in October in terms of the resolution of that particular concern, but our police department is much into community policing, community police task forces to resolve issues along communities. We are the first city in the country to participate in law enforcement community circles, and our police department initiated that, and they're very much a part of those discussions. We are very much in the loop, and we are initiating community policing throughout our community as a belief system and not as a set of programs.
Bruce.
In your material and your discussion of community challenges, you talk about Fayetteville being an Army town, and all the good things that have come from that, but also the challenges that you've experienced over the years. What I'm interested in learning is what is the current relationship between the local government, power structure, community leadership, and the Army, the Department of Defense based locally, and to what extent are the current problems that you're addressing as a community interrelated with the military population, and how are you doing problem solving?
Yes, sir. My name is Tad Davis. I'm the garrison commander with the city manager for Fort Bragg, home to 45,000 of America's finest paratroopers. We're delighted to be here today and not answering a 911 call around the world. But more importantly, we are one community, Fort Bragg and Fayetteville. Fort Bragg earlier this year was recognized by the Army as the best Army installation in the world. We could not have done that without the support that we get on a day-to-day basis from our friends in Fayetteville. There are some significant issues with regard to child and spouse abuse that are mentioned here in the study circles groups. We are involved in those in a big way. Over 25,000 families of soldiers that reside in Fort Bragg live within the Fayetteville community, and so we are inextricably linked with that community and feel very good about being in Fayetteville, feeling very good that when we put 45,000 paratroopers in harm's way in defense of this nation, we do so with the pride and with the comfort that our families are being taken care of back home in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a really dynamic delegation, and fantastic project. On the Operation Inasmuch, It's really admirable that you're dealing with the direct effects of poverty on a daily basis and so on. My question is, beyond inasmuch in your study circles and in the benchmarks, what is the longer term effort to deal with the 15% poverty that you have in the community? Can you talk a little bit about that?
One of the things we've done through MetaVisions is we do have the benchmarking that gives us 11 years of data. And we've discovered in our community that information is power. It really arms us to take on tasks. And we recognize that a lot of what we're involved in now is long-term. It can't just be this year, it's got to be next year and the next and the next. So we are really committed to tracking that information carefully and making sure that we stay on top of these issues. There's also a group in our community that is working on the economic issues, looking at how can we diversify the economy in Fayetteville so that the poverty issue gets addressed in that way. And we realize, we really discovered that everything overlaps everything else. And by coming together across all kinds of lines, we have been able to make good progress in that way. So economic studies will be done.
Gail.
A wonderful presentation. I'm really touched by the Neighborhood Guardian program. And it appears from your application to be a mixture of the service provision agencies and the citizens volunteering. Could you talk more about the authority of these neighborhood guardians, the resources that they have access to, and if you have some actual concrete results of their efforts, that would be really helpful.
The Neighborhood Guardian Program, my name is Ida McDuffie. I'm the program manager for the Neighborhood Guardian Program. The Neighborhood Guardian Program is a child abuse and neglect prevention program. We have over 48 agencies in Fayetteville, North Carolina that deal with child abuse and neglect after the fact, after children have been abused or neglected. So we've come up with a program to prevent neglect. What we do is we identify neighborhoods that have high instances of child abuse and neglect. Then we identify a neighborhood guardian in that neighborhood, a person who is in touch with the neighborhood, a person that the neighbors trust and have confidence in, someone to look out for the welfare and the safety of the children in that neighborhood.
And that person does what?
The neighborhood guardian, we want that person to have a sincere desire to look out for the safety of the children and the love for the children. What that person does, she serves as a resource person for the families. We want to identify families who have stressors that we know that can lead to child abuse and neglect, such as substance abuse, isolation, unemployment. And once they identify those families, they make referrals for those families to the agency in Cumberland County that can best help them with the problem that they have.
David.
Yes, I'm from Cincinnati, so I want to ask you about police community relations. Your study circles that you have, to what extent did you quickly get the surrounding community, the actual people, neighborhood people involved with the study circle issue on police community relations or on the racial crime, and what were the demographics of those circles, and are they still going on?
Hi, my name is Gwen Wright, and I work as a staff member with the Human Relations Commission. Once we got the information from the National Resource Center about law enforcement and community-wide studies, it was an immediate response because we recognized the need in our community for more about law enforcement and regular citizens to come together and dialogue. We had no problems in terms of the volunteers coming forward. Again, as our city manager, Roger Stanswin, said, the police department has been in tune with the community. So the volunteerism from the police officers and the law enforcement community has really been overwhelming. In terms of the citizens, again, we've had no problems because one of the things is that the Human Relations Department and Commission, most of our work is really fueled by volunteers. Our staff is very small, so we rely on the community. So again, that mixture was almost immediate, automatic, and it's really been successful. In fact, we're about to start our second round of community-wide law enforcement studies.
Let me just follow up real quickly. Did you use an initial invitation by media, or was it more of a phone call or listen to you already?
Actually, It was one-on-one contacts. Again, our Human Relations Commission is very committed to improving the quality of life in Fayetteville. So what we did one-on-one interviews with police chiefs in the neighboring communities. Our state highway patrol was a part of that. We put together a wonderful event called the Ag Kickoff. And so we had buy-in from several law enforcement agencies to include local and state. And so, again, it's just been really overwhelming. And it's really made a positive impact on our community.
I'm sorry our time is up. You obviously have stories to tell that will go long past 20 years. It's also the nature, I guess, of the news business that we hear more about red flags nationwide than anything else. But it is so clear this program is to talk about your gold stars. Pedro, you've got a lot of gold stars. Yes. You need to be proud of yourself.